Alex says, "Hey Bradley, how many business listings do you recommend you have on the directory site active at one time? Is there a point where having too many would slow down the performance of the WordPress site?" I don't know. Yes, I'm sure there is that there's a, and it also depends on the host, right? You got better hosting, you shouldn't have problems with that. You may have, eventually, if you get your directory site with enough listings that it isn't running or performing very, properly, it's running slowly, it's loading slowly, etc., then that a lot of the time can be resolved by upgrading host. Um, so that's a host function. It's not really a function of SEO, in my opinion. As far as how many directory listings, can you have as many as you want? What I recommend though is that you only add listings to the site that are thoroughly optimized, because recently, in one of the more recent updates, the indexing rate tanked, like from the TreeCare HQ directory, and it's all the listings that were the really basic listings that were generated upon import, right? Remember, I don't do that and anymore, and I haven't for a long time. In the DHA coaching program, I tell people just populate your site, your directory site, with like the companies that you scrape from one state, and that's it. I originally A year and a half ago, I was saying do it for 3 states, but more recently, in one of the more recent algorithm updates, uh, my indexing rate just tanked with TreeCare HQ, and it's the pages or posts, the company listings that aren't optimized. They're just basic imported listings that aren't indexed. And so, in the SOPs, I show in the I think it's, let me just find it real quick and I'll demonstrate where it is for you, Alex. And then this also gives me an opportunity to display or showcase some of our SOPs. So there's a dual purpose for sharing this right now. But we're going to look at the directory agency SOPs. We're going to look at contact lists right here. So this is what I was talking about. Importing and exporting listing data into GeoDirectory. And if you take a look at this, you'll see there's a module in the SOP here for optimized directory descriptions using GPT for Sheets. And so what I recommend is, if you are going to be importing listings, instead of like what we do at TreeCare HQ now, is we only add a listing to the directory when a company has, or somebody has responded positively to our cold outreach emails, right? So our cold emails that are saying, hey, we're trying to confirm the company information for your listing on the treecarehq.com directory site. This is what we have: name, address, phone number, website, service area. And we omit some of that data uh, intentionally, excuse me, from the emails. Like, we leave the website field blank always. We might have the website URL, but we always send them the email saying, this is what we have, and the website field is always blank. And it's intentional. We want them to reply and say, oh, yes, all that information is correct, except you're missing my website. Here it is. Or the phone number needs updated and my website is missing. Here, and they send us the website. You see what I'm saying? We do that intentionally. But so we only add listings to the directory for those positive replies that we have received from our cold email. So that there, because then the directory listing is only being created by my team member who is responsible for optimizing the listing, right? So when it is published, it's already optimized. Instead of, originally, I was just importing the contact lists into GeoDirectory, and then I would export them from GeoDirectory in a CSV file that then would be uploaded into High Level, so that then when I was doing my messaging sequence, which at the time was done via High Level, the cold email was, instead of via Instantly, then I would have the URL to the listing in the contact records, right, the custom field, so that, if needed, we could send them directly to their listing. We could send the listing URL directly to them via email, SMS, whatever, because it was part of their contact record in High Level, right? However, like I said, recently, because Google doesn't want to index pages that are not adding value, um, basic unoptimized listings won't index, or very unlikely to index. And so what I'm recommending is, if you're going to be importing listings, which initially, when you first launch the directory, you should have some seed listings on the site in order to kind of help Google to understand what the site is about, right? But this right here, the GPT for Sheets, is training specifically for how to use the GPT for Sheets plugin or extension, whatever you call it, to very quickly create optimized business directory listings using ChatGPT. And it's like it's incredibly inexpensive. I mean, I've done thousands of listings and I spent like $6. I'm not kidding. I loaded my account with like $25 originally, and I think I still have like $18 on my account. And I've done thousands of these. Okay. And here's the prompt for that. And this shows, again, this is all in the SOP. But that's what I would recommend is if you're going to be importing listings, that you do it in a way that, this will create 2 paragraphs that have actually where ChatGPT actually goes and looks at each website each contact is going to be a separate row in the sheet, and it goes and it looks at each one of the websites and it pulls and it references the services and the service locations that are mentioned on their site, and it creates 2 paragraphs about the company, the products that they or services that they provide, and the locations in which they provide them. And so it becomes a much more thoroughly optimized description and therefore much more likely to index. Hopefully that's clear. As far as the number of listings, there is no limit. The limit is going to be by your host and your market, the total addressable market. That's about it.